Lovers and the Dreamers by Elizabeth Scarhart. Illustrated by the Mayor of Halia. Narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart. Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Storm. Snowdon seemed unusually empty. No children were playing in the snow. The soft glow that normally came from the windows of the buildings were gone, and the windows themselves were like dark sockets in the homes they were a part of. The wind was still, making the world completely silent. Papyrus stood alone, the smell of his cigarette the only thing keeping him calm. He heard his brother laughing. He casually followed the sound, until he reached the bridge leading out of town to the west. Sans was on the other side, running around, his arms spread like he was pretending to fly. Papyrus chuckled to himself. Sans could be so childish sometimes. He loved him for it, though. He crossed the bridge, and soon was standing watching his brother. Sans kept running erratically before making a beeline into the forest. Pap followed, but Sans seemed to get further and further away.
Slow down! You know I'm not as energetic as you!
Papyrus called, but Sans kept running, and the trees seemed to grow thicker and thicker. Branches began to scrape at his sides and slap his face. The thickness of the dark green needles soon hid Sans from Papyrus's view. Papyrus ran faster, desperately trying to tear through the branches. After what felt like an hour, he finally broke through, falling into the soft snow of the clearing. He stood and looked around. No sign of his brother.
Bro?
He called. No reply. He tried again.
Sans!
Still nothing. The trees around him grew thicker and began to grow and arch, forming a thick black dome around him.
Brother!
Papyrus heard Sans' voice.
I'm here, brother!
Sans!
Papyrus rushed to the walls of the dome and tried to get to him, but the trunks had made a hard wall. Pap could barely fit an arm through the cracks, but looking through the cracks, he saw Sans running into the darkness.
Sans! Sans! Sans!
Papyrus bolted upright in his bed. He was coated in sweat as he looked around. He was in his own room. Pap turned as loud footsteps came racing down the hall, and a knock rang from his door.
Papyrus? Are you okay?
Yeah,
Papyrus replied.
Just give me a minute.
He somehow managed to stand and cross the room. He unlocked and opened the door, revealing a worried-looking Sans.
Why were you calling me?
Sorry, bro. I had a nightmare, Papyrus explained.
Must have been a bad one. You're sweating bullets.
Sans observed.
Do you want to talk about it?
Papyrus shook his head.
No, I'm fine. I'm used to nightmares by now, you know that.
Sans sighed. Indeed, he did. Papyrus had suffered nightmares since the two of them were kids. Sometimes he'd wake up screaming like this. By now, it was just a normal part of their lives.
Hey!
The two looked as another skeleton joined them. It was Ink.
Everything okay? Yeah, sorry, love. Be back with you in a minute.
Sans said. Ink nodded and walked away.
What's Ink doing here so early?
Papyrus asked.
Pap, it's after 10.
Sans told him.
Ink and I have been working on a Mother's Day gift for Muffet. You want to join?
Papyrus thought for a moment. He needed some time alone and maybe some different company after that dream. Maybe time to pay the old man in the ruins a visit.
Nah, I think I'll just change and go for a walk. You two have fun.
Sans nodded and left the room, closing the door behind him and hearing Pap lock it. Papyrus had always been big on privacy. Even when they had shared a room as a kid, Papyrus had curtained off the lower bunks so he could have the space. It was kind of ironic in a sense. He liked his privacy, but he was also very protective and at times a clingy brother. Sans supposed everyone got lonely now and again. He headed back to his room. Ink sat on the floor where the two of them had been working. The two had made a large papier-mâché cupcake. They had finished the shape 2 days before. Now it had dried and they were painting it. Sans had told Ink it needed to be a chocolate cake in a pink cup with raspberry icing.
Pink and dark red are her favorite colors,
He explained.
Looks like the paint on the cup is dry.
Ink told him after 20 minutes of working on the icing.
Do you want me to write anything on it?
Sans grinned.
Write, our honorary mother is the sweetest, please.
Ink put his marker to the creation, then hesitated.
Honorary? I know she raised us and everything, but our dad is still alive, and Happy and I are still hoping someday he'll remember us and rejoin our family.
Sans told him.
I'm confused.
Ink said slowly.
I don't understand it all exactly,
Sans said.
but our dad is the river person. He was in some sort of bad accident that left him with amnesia, so he doesn't remember us. He doesn't know we're his sons and insists he'd never be the type to have a family. Muffet took us in and we love her, but we hope someday Dad remembers us, so it never felt quite right calling her Mom. We took to calling her our honorary mom instead. So far she hasn't complained.
Wow. Sans, I'm so sorry.
Ink said quietly.
It's alright. I barely remember living with our mom and dad anyways.
Sans said.
What happened to your mom?
Ink asked.
The virus said the accident killed her.
Sans replied.
Now no more sad faces. I still have my brother, and Muffet is always there when we need her.
Ink nodded, smiling. He still felt sorry for the two, but if Sans was so at ease with it, then it must be healed wounds. No point in opening them. He wrote the requested message in dainty letters. The two then finished painting the icing and left it to dry. By evening, it would be ready for the two brothers to take over to Muffet's. Ink planned on going along as well. He had something important to ask Muffet. The soft glow that normally came from the windows of the buildings were gone, and the windows themselves were like dark socked. Blah, 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 blah. First paragraph, and I've already got a blooper! Yahoo! I'm sorry. The trees around him grew darker and began to grow and arch, forming a thick black dome. That was way over dramatic.